Om Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Ya Kundendu Tushara Dhavala Ya Shubhravastra Ya Veena Varadanda Manditakara Ya Shveta Padmasana Ya Brahmachyuta Shankara Prabhutivihi Devai Sada Vandita Sa Mam Patu Saraswati Bhagavati Nisheshajadhyapaha. Om Shri Durga Lakshmi Sameta Sri Saraswatyai Namaha. Okay, so this is the first of two talks in which we are going to look at this stotram entitled Kamalajadayitashtakam. Okay. Before I get into the stotram itself, it's a prayer of 8 verses. I'll give a little introduction on Saraswati, Devi Saraswati. How do we understand, or what do we understand about Saraswati Devi as described, as taught in our scriptures? Okay. So let us begin with the gods and goddesses, So we all look up, when we look upon a spiritual pursuit, it's really about discovery of our connection, my connection with the world, the phenomenal world that I experience, and its origin and its creator, wherever it came from, whoever it came from, In our tradition, in a Sanatana Dharma, that is called as, that source of everything is called as Ishvara in regards to the creation, with respect to the creation. So, Karanam, that from which everything has come, and the cause of the whole manifest world, called Jagat Karanam. And Jagat Karanam is Ishvara. That's the name. And what is the nature of this Ishvara? Also, our scriptures teach us. This Ishvara is so Karanam, what kind of Karanam is it? There are many types of causes. We won't get into that. But then here it is, so Nimitta Upadana Karanam. Ishvara is called as. Nimitta means, so that cause, because of which, the basis of which, it forms the basis from which everything manifests in terms of sentiency, in terms of consciousness, That is the nimittam, that which sustains, really speaking, everything. And then there is include that is centered on the subject, really speaking, the ultimate subject in the form of consciousness, that is sentient. Then there is the world of experience that we have, that is inert. Okay, that is inert. And that is called as upadanam. It is itself not sentient. But then what does it come from? Some material is there because it's tangible. That's why we say material. So the material cause is a tangible cause. So me, in my consciousness, I relate to, through the tangible body, relate to the tangible world, and something like that. So this Karanam, Ishvara is twofold, therefore. It is in terms of, so this Nimittam and Upadana, material and the sentient consciousness. Okay. Now this material cause, the Upadana Karanam, again, when I look at the world, it's not a homogeneous thing. It is made up of infinite types of objects with varieties of different qualities. And so that I learn to categorize so that I can relate to them. And I categorize different ways of categorizing the world. And so, for example, subject object is only two categories. Or I can categorize it in terms of various qualities, which are called as gunas. So that in terms of, so the qualities of the nature, its manifestation is being tangible, etc. That cause is called as Upadana Karanam. And that is there in a twofold way. Again, manifest or unmanifest. Yes. Everything we see like that. So the manifest is what is called as, actualized in quantum physics. So it is potential, not yet manifest. Like dream, for example, manifest, unmanifest. Waking also is like that. Manifest, unmanifest. Manifest when it becomes available to me. Unmanifest when it's not available to me. So like that, this kind of a twofold kind of cause in the twofold manner, manifest and manifest, is in the potential. When it is potential, it is Ishvara's Shakti. It's called Shakti. It's a potential. It's a power by which things happen, but they have not yet happened. So there is a Ishvara's Shakti, which is non-separate from the other cause, the nimitta. That both are there together. This Shakti, again, so let us look at Ishvara's Shakti, or the power that is there that can manifest in order as the world of experience. This Shakti again is understood as threefold. Okay, as threefold. And these threefold are, so in terms of the gunas or qualities, is what we call as the triputi. The cause itself, the nimittam, that is the form of consciousness, is changeless. Other words used for these two are Purusha and Prakriti. So thus we have this changeless Purusha and a Prakriti, which is its Shakti, manifest or unmanifest. And these constitute the threefold. Shakti is threefold. The other also is threefold because, so from the standpoint of the world, Jagat Karanam we said. So as the cause of creation, the Jagat which is manifest, okay, so that manifesting aspect has threefold aspects to it, which is creation, sustenance, and destruction. So it manifests means, so it manifests from something always. It doesn't manifest from nothing. So the manifestation potential is there, don't forget. So this manifest creation, resolution, and in between. So this forms one triputi, and the corresponding triputi also is the threefold Shaktis. Okay. These threefold Shaktis are so looked upon as feminine, the other is looked upon as masculine. And so because this is all what we see in the world. Okay, what we see as the effect, so the cause. Okay. We infer, but Shastram doesn't infer. Shastram tells us that. We just verify it by inference. So now we have this Prakriti, which is also threefold. And is threefold, we have, what are these threefold Devis? For the Purusha aspect, there is the Triputi of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. And then correspondingly, we also have a Triputi in terms of the threefold Shaktis. So which are the, one is Shakti, or say Parvati, consort of Rudra, Shiva. Then the other consort of Brahmaji as Saraswati, and the consort of Vishnu as Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi. Okay. So these are the threefold Devis. These threefold Devis or the Triputi, okay, in this, one of them is Saraswati. Why threefold? Because the various functions are there. Various laws are there, various functions are there, different aspects of it are there. We invoke these deities. They are the presiding deities. That means they are the divine forces behind things that are happening. There is divinity, in all of this. It's all considered divine. Divine is something that connects me to the Lord, something that is religious, has a religious context. Okay, that's what we mean when we say divine. Out of this world, okay, out of this world in the sense, not out there physically, but something which not within the scope of this world. Okay, there has to be something more than what is manifest. So that is what makes it divine. So in any case, so these threefold presiding deities are there, and we pray to them. We pray to these Shaktis in the form of, so Devi, for example, to give us Arogyam. She's a presiding deity for Arogyam, for health, and also for Duritakshayam, you know, for removal of all Duritas, all Papa Karmas, and so on. We pray to Durga Devi. Then, in order to sustain oneself, for prosperity, for resources, and such, we pray to, so Devi Lakshmi, Lakshmi Devi. She's a consort of Lord Vishnu, as you know. And then for Jnanam, for knowledge, we pray to the Lord, same Shakti, only the aspect of as Saraswati. So, goddess as Saraswati. So these are the three worship. We worship them. Why do we worship in a threefold? How do we worship them? How does it manifest in our life? So, for example, you see this very clearly in our culture. So during the childhood, as we grow older, as we develop, okay, so we learn. We have to learn about the world. We have to learn to survive. So knowing is important. Starting from early on, knowing is important. I have to get to know the world so that I can live in it and so on. So jnanam is predominant. Thus, our worship, it starts with Saraswati, Aksharabhyasam. So just barely a toddler. And so Goddess Saraswati is prayed to in order to, so she is in charge of anything connected to knowledge. Aksharam, even to start speaking, to uttering a sound, the right sound, you know. The child growing up cannot even articulate the letters, aksharas properly. It has to learn. It calls us by some words. It's not even the right words. So starting from Aksharabhyasam, then of course brahmachari, as a brahmachari you get older and the whole focus is on study and learning. So Goddess Saraswati is important. We invoke the divine grace in the form of Goddess Saraswati. Then later on in life, majority of the life, what is it? It is another ashrama. There was brahmacharya ashrama. Then there is grahastha ashrama. Grahastha ashrama is all about prosperity, success, resources for oneself, for one's own comfort, but also for the sake of others. So then are helping others out, okay? Keeping the society going. So prosperity, this all these important aspects of life. And so as a grahastha, the primary goal we worship Mahalakshmi, Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi is worship. In fact, we even address the person like that. Shriman. There's no Mr. like Mr. Mrs. there. We have Shriman, Shrimati, the one who has Shri, the one who has prosperity. So this is the one stage of life. Then again later on, as a Vanaprastha, as a sannyasi, again jnanam becomes important. And so again, Saraswati is invoked, again Saraswati. Predominantly, I'm talking about. Not that at other times we don't do. And then all throughout life, We pray to Durga Devi in different forms, manifest in different forms for good health, arogyam, for strength, for balam. You know. So thus, even culturally, we see how these three Devis, threefold Devis, Triputi, play a role in our lives, day-to-day lives. Here, let us, especially Saraswati Devi, thus, is worshipped. She is worshipped specially during Vasanta Panchami. That is the day. It's called Saraswati Jayanti when they do Akshara Abhyasam. And then Navaratri time also. All the three Devis are worshipped in the 9 days. And then we have Saraswati Puja, Dashami day. And the Saraswati Puja, she is invoked even in a all forms of knowledge. In the all forms of knowledge, the icon, the altar there is made up of books and various other implements, tools, and so on. Pustaka Mandalam. It's called Pustaka Mandale. She is Avahayami. So thus we come to Saraswati Devi. What does her name really mean? What do we mean? How do we understand Saraswati Devi? The word Saras, Saraswati, the one Saras means a large body of water. It's called Saras, like a lake. It's compared to the Vedas, knowledge, spiritual knowledge. When we talk of spiritual knowledge, scriptures is the Veda. Then there are other forms of knowledge also. 64 forms, kalas are there. Different forms of knowledge are there. Saras also means the one that flows. The one that flows. Knowledge flows. Knowledge passes. It flows from a mind that knows to a mind that does not know. That's the nature of knowledge. Another unique thing about, like a river, flows from the height to the ocean, sea level. Another thing about river is that pravaha nityatvam, like Ganga, it's always flowing, it's always fresh. It's ancient, yet it is fresh, new. This knowledge is unlike any other knowledge, scriptural knowledge, not another subject. We'll see that later on. So the flowing nature of knowledge is compared to rivers. So Ganga, Yamuna, Gange Yamune Chaiva, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, etc. All the rivers we look upon so as sacred, as divine, because they symbolize this great spiritual knowledge of the Vedas. They're also purifying. Water is a purifier. So Gangaji purifies. She represents knowledge, as does Saraswati Devi. So she is mentioned in the Rig Veda itself. Saraswati River is mentioned in the Rig Veda. Talking about Saraswati River, we always learned as we were growing up. It's underground river. It's a river that is not seen. It disappeared. These are not so unrecognized things. If you look at the rivers, all these rivers that originate in the Himalayas and other mountains and so on. So Himalayas are this constant, there's earthquakes and things happening there all the time. It's a young mountain. It's not stable. It trembles all the time. You can see that. And then rivers constantly changing their directions, changing their routes. They arise from the glaciers, they come out of the caves, different rivers, from springs. And then they all get together and then they form rivers and they come down. So these shifts take place very often there. You see rivers changing their routes and sometimes disappearing also. Sometimes they flow into the desert region once they come down and then they disappear into the desert. So Saraswati rivers, like one of those, she was there. She's identified. Even now, some historians identify there's a particular river called as Ghaggar or Gajjar river that is, that flows, that is considered to be looked upon as the original Saraswati river, then flows into two directions. It went along in the Indus civilization, they found excavations and all kinds of things are there connected to that. But anyway, so Saraswati also as a river in the Rig Veda, she's mentioned, she's worshipped, prayers are there, you know. So then is a river where great sages like Ganga River, great sages like Vishwamitra, Vasishtha, even Brahmaji, Devas like Brahma worshipped and did tapas, did penance on the banks of river Saraswati. Saraswati Devi is represented both as the daughter of Brahmaji, because everybody is born of Brahmaji, is the creator of all, of the whole manifest world. So of course she is his daughter, but also is seen as his consort because she is Shakti in the form of Shakti. Sivan Triputi connected to Brahma in that way. She is the Jnana Shakti associated with the creative aspect of, of this Jagat, of the creation. All of these Devis have various manifestations. So now I'm looking at, so they are there in that particular form, but also manifest in many different forms. Why? Because there are so many functions. There are so many qualities. There are so many functions connected to the functioning of the world. So every aspect of it is highlighted as a form. That's a manifestation. And then we have a personalized form. Okay. Personification of that. So thus, for example, with respect to Shakti, Devi, we have Durga, Navadurgas. There are now 9 different manifestations of Durga. That is a form of Shakti. Or Dasha Mahavidyas are there. 10 different forms of manifestations of the Shakti Devi. With respect to Lakshmi also we have like the Ashta Lakshmis, different aspects of Lakshmi. Similarly, we have different manifestations for Saraswati Devi also. These are described in the Puranas, like Markandeya Purana, Matsya Purana, and in various tantric texts, there are Sapta Lakshmi, Sapta Saraswati are there, Ashta Saraswatis are there. One of her forms is Vag Devi, for example. As Vag, there were 8 different manifestations of Vag Devi are there. Different aspects of Vak. Vak is not just speech, but even speech is complicated. It's not that simple. There is articulated speech, there is language. So there is speech, there are letters, there are words, there are syntax, there is all kinds of things are there, different manifestations, different expressions of Vak. All of these have certain laws associated with it. So put together, so there's different forms of Vagdevis are there. Sometimes it becomes a little confusing to some people. It looks confusing. Also, it looks a little more confusing than the Triputi, Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. Okay. We know these 3 devatas are there. We worship them. When it comes to Devis, sometimes some people get a little bit more, there's so many different forms are there. And since it's created to this manifest world, it's also many of the functions are overlapping. So sometimes we have the Devis also, their functions overlap. They preside over different things. So for example, in Pancharatra Agama, it's very interesting to see this, There are 24 manifestations of Sri Vishnu, Lord Vishnu talked about, one of which is Sankarshana. His name is Sankarshana, one manifestation. And in this particular manifestation, his consort, Sri Vishnu's consort is Lakshmi. She also manifests, because it's inseparable. And she is manifest, she is called as Saraswati. Because this particular form is connected to Jnanam. She represents Jnanam and Balam. So Sri Lakshmi, in this form as a consort of Sri Vishnu, manifest as Sankarshana Murti, is called Saraswati. Now, somebody, don't know all these details, then you think, well, Saraswati, how is she? Somewhere it said she is a consort of Sri Vishnu. Somewhere it says she is a consort of Brahmaji. What is it? Why this confusion? So, but this is the background, just to give you an idea of the background, how these things sometimes look that way. So, like that, Vidya, for example, it's not that simple. Wealth. I want to be wealthy. I want to be wealthy. Who do I worship? Child asks you this question. I want to be wealthy when I grow up. Should I worship Sri Mahalakshmi? Of course, Mahalakshmi is obvious. But then you also said, keep saying health is wealth, health is wealth. I need arogyam. For arogyam, I have to worship Durga Devi. Then knowledge is also wealth. All the wealth of knowledge. We always talk of wealth of knowledge. So if I want wealth, so what kind of wealth? Who's the one connected to it? So it all loses a lot of overlap. So generally when we invoke, we will say any one when you pray to, you include the other two also. Very common. In pujas, you see this. Like I said in the beginning, Durga, Lakshmi Samet, Sri Saraswati Namaha. When I'm invoking Saraswati. When I'm invoking Lakshmi, Durga Saraswati Sameta Sri Mahalakshmi Namaha. Like that. So this is all we have our ways of expressions of doing things, So anyway, so thus we have these varieties of manifestations of Saraswati also. So depending on different traditions are there, different agamas are there. Sometimes Saraswati is a manifestation of Durga Devi. Some of the forms of Saraswati are looked upon as the manifestations of Dashamahavidyas, Durga. So anyway, so this is just to give some kind of a background, okay, to understand who is Saraswati Devi for us. So this much is enough. With this, let me just come to the Ashtakam. Okay. Now, when we look at the verses, we have a context, who we are talking about. So this particular stotram, Kamalajadayitashtakam. So it is attributed to, written by, one of the Shankaracharyas of Sringeri Peetham, Sri Sachidananda Shiva Abhinava Nrisimha Bharati. He was the 33rd Shankaracharya in the parampara, in the tradition. The current one is 36th. Okay, so he is the couple of generations before. Kamalajadayitashtakam. Kamalaja. Who's Kamalaja? Kamalaja is the one who is born on the Kamalam, who manifests on the lotus. We all know who that is. So that is Brahma. Kamalaja. Then Dayita. Dayita is the consort, the beloved. So the one who is the consort of Brahma, who is obviously goddess Saraswati. And Ashtakam, 8 verses dedicated to goddess Saraswati. Let's begin with the first one. Shringakshma Brindnivase Shukhamuni Shukhamukhamuni Sevyamangri Padme Swangachaya Vidhutamritakara Surarad Vahane Vaksavitri Shambhu Srinath Mukhyamaravara Nikarair Modita Pujyamane Vidyam Shuddham Cha Buddhim Kamalajadayite Satvaram Dehi Mahyam. So it says Vidyam Shuddham Cha Buddhim Kamalajadayite Satvaram Dehi Mahyam. Please give me. I pray for these things. O Goddess Saraswati, I pray for O Kamalajadayite. I pray to you. Then you is described in many different ways. And then what I am praying for also is asked for, the request, in all these verses, in which the last line is repeated in every verse. So let's look at the individual words. Shringakshma Bhrannivase. This prayer is addressed to Goddess Saraswati in the form of Sharadamba, Sharada Devi. So she's the goddess of learning. She's form of Vak Devi, Vak has to do with speech, language, because Shastram is Shabdam. So in the form of knowledge that is given in the form of words. So this Sharadamba, so so there is one manifestation. So in the Sringeri Peetham, there is a temple of Sharada. This temple that was originally installed by Adi Shankaracharya himself. There is a story behind that. I'll mention it later on. But the one who has her abode in Shringakshma, Shringakshma is Prithvi, Dharti. So Brit is a mountain hill. So the one who has her abode in the hills of Shringagiri, Shringeri. So this place is called as Shringeri Matam. So here, these hills, they are named after one rishi, whose name was Rishya Rishi. So this Rishya Shringa, he was the one who performed penance on the banks of Tunga river. Is another sacred river, another sacred river. So she also, like Ganga, she arises from the caves in the Western Ghats, and then she flows down, and then eventually ends up, she's mentioned in Varaha Purana. And then eventually there's some connection is there, Puranic connection is there. So that's what another thing that makes these rivers sacred, is that they are mentioned in our texts, in the Puranas, and rishis are associated with it. There are people, great sages, who performed prayers and penance at the banks of these rivers. So Rishi Shringa was one. He was also the one who reportedly performed the rituals for Dasharatha, King Dasharatha's time. So Putra Kameshti that he performed in order to get the progeny. So that he was one of the officiants for that ceremony. And this Tunga also river is mentioned in Mahabharata, in Ramayana, as the Pampa River. So anyway, itself a great river. And so on the banks of this river is this Adi Shankaracharya established this mutt, and had put a temple there also for Sharadamba. So this prayer is O Sharadamba, Goddess Saraswati, the one who has her abode in this Sringeri, essentially. Shukha Mukha Muni Bihi Sevyaman Angri Padme, the one whose feet are worshipped. How? So by sages like Shuka, and other sages. So he says Shuka was another big rishi, very well known. So connected to, he was the son of Sri Vyasa, from whom he learned Puranas, Bhagavad Purana, and he became the main narrator of Bhagavad Purana later on to the sages and other people. It's interesting, the meaning of the word, his name, Shuka means a parrot. He's a parrot. So it's a metaphor for parrot, parrot's unique characteristic is that it has this medha shakti, memory. It repeats what it hears. It can repeat. There's just the sound itself. Wow. Doesn't know the language. But then it repeats exact, and not just repeats, but it repeats exactly as it hears. No editorials, no changing. What it hears, echolalic, called echolalia. You see that neurological condition sometimes. But then, so it repeats, and that is its unique quality. It's also a thing of beauty. We often see parrots associated with various deities. So many devis have parrot, either held in their hand, like so Sri Meenakshi Devi, Kamakshi Devi, Andal, even Sharadamba, you will see, not holding in her hand, but there'll be somewhere you'll see in the picture a parrot. So parrot always represents this transmission of this knowledge, scriptural knowledge. And also is a vahanam. Parrot is a vahanam for our Kamadeva, Manmatha, and his consort Rati. So they always travel on. The god of love, he travels on a parrot. It's a thing of grace, of beauty. So this naturally, appropriately, this our Sri Vyasa's son was called as Shuka. His name Shuka. Or people called him Shuka because that is what he did. And this is an important aspect of this teaching. It's just that the knowledge is transmitted as it is, It's not improved upon. We cannot improve upon Shastra, Jnanam, because it is complete. It's complete in itself. So, anyway, so the one who is worshipped by sages such as Shuka and others, he says, Swanga Chaya Viduta Amritakara Surat Vahana Vaksavitri. Swanga Chaya Viduta. Okay, so the one, he says, the one who overshadows. The one who overshadows what? So certain things, your brightness overshadows the brightness of Amritakaram, Amritakara, Amritakara. Who's Amritakara? The one who who gives out the rays of nectar, referring to moon, referring to the moon. So the full moon, gives out rays, and these rays are considered to be like Amritam. Amritam. So because moon affects in Ayurveda, moon affects our mind, Saraswati is connected to mind also. So the rays of the moon, it affects our mind, it affects our fluids in the body. In Ayurveda, talks about. And then also, it energizes. The rays of the sun and the moon energize us, energize the plants, the plant kingdom. Okay. Sun's energy is very strong. The moon's energy is gentle, the moon rays. And there are certain medicinal plants that they will pluck only on moonlight, on full moon day. So because it's supposed to have the maximum potency at that time. So thus he says conditions like BP and inflammation, etc., that are all very fluid dependent, are also affected by the have moon connection. And so the plants, etc., the medicinal plants, those are all things in Ayurveda talks about. So moon is called as Amritakaram, is the full moon. So your beauty, your grace, your form is the one that overshadows even the brightness of a full moon. Not only that, Surarat Vahanam, it overshadows the brightness of this Vahana, this vehicle, the vehicle of Indra. Surarat was Indra, Surana, the one, the king of Suras, Indra Devata, whose Vahanam is Airavata. Airavata is the king of elephants, who was white in color. So it's very majestic. It overpowers even him. So her face is described as bright, fair complexions. White. White always represents Sattva Guna. You know, knowledge is white. It is always in keeping with the truth. It doesn't get contaminated by falsehood, altered by ignorance, and so on. So thus, anything that has distortions, errors, and all that, they are contaminants. Is free from all that. She's pure white. That's why she's dressed in white. Saraswati always dressed in white, or at least light clothes. In the temple, sometimes you don't always see white, but sometimes light, very light, representing white anyway. So she has a Vahanam, Amsa Vahini. Her vehicle is white swan. So symbolizing grace, beauty, also Viveka, discrimination, truth. All these are symbolic of, Vahanam, the Hamsa, the swan is symbolic of all these things. Okay. And she is Vak Savitri. Vak Savitri. She is the one who, she's called Savitri. Savitri is another manifestation. It's threefold. Gayatri, Savitri, and Saraswati. These are considered the same. So Savitri is the one who generates speech. So it's another name for it. Ya Utpadayati Sa Savitri. The one who generates, who produces, who impels one to speak properly, not just vocalize. So anyway, Shambhu Srinath Mukhya Maravar Nikarair Modita Pujamane. Not only that, you are worshipped by Shambhu Srinatha. So Shambhu, Lord Shiva. Srinatha is Lord Vishnu, Natha of Sri, of Mahalakshmi. And other various, he says, Amaras, various gods, etc., who joyfully worship you. Okay. Lord is Saraswati. Vidyam Shuddham Cha Buddhim Dehi Me Satvaram. Please give me quickly. He wants quickly, quickly, because I don't have much time. You've been around forever. I don't have much time. So please, I need so much. Time is little. Vidyam Shuddham Cha Buddhim. Vidyam is knowledge. Please bless me. Please give me. When we pray for knowledge, it's not that knowledge comes, because of the prayer. Knowledge I still have to work for to gain the knowledge. Then what is the prayer really? It's to removal of obstacles. There are so many obstacles that come in the way of my knowing. And so I need that knowledge. So that's why you please quickly, I says, please give me that knowledge. Please remove from me the obstacles to it. and Shuddham Buddhim. So one of the obstacles is Buddhi. I need Shuddha Buddhi. Shuddha Buddhi. Shuddha Buddhi is like Chitta Shuddhi, purity of the mind. That so it doesn't free from projections, free from errors, free from doubts, free from my own obstacles created by me. So for praying for that Daiva to help me in my pursuit, he please grant me that. Please give me that. Then next one. Kalpadau Parvati Shaha Pravarasuragan Pravarasuragana Prarthita Shrautavartma Prabalyam Netu Kamaha Yativara Vapusha Gatyayam Shringashaile Samsthapyarcham Prachakre Bahavidhu Nutibhi Satvamindu Indvardhachuda Vidyam Shuddham Cha Buddhim Kamalajadayite Satvaram Dehi Mahyam Kalpadau Parvatishaha Pravara Suragana Prartitaha Shrautavartma Prabalyam Netu Kamaha. So he says, he's all identifying somebody, okay? Yativara Vapusha Agatya Yam Shringashaile Samsthapya Archam Prachakre. Anyway, so look at it. Kalpadau. At the beginning of the kalpa. What's a kalpa? It's a time measurement. Okay. One kalpa is the daytime of Brahmaji. Okay, Brahma. Like that, there is a night also. Day is when everything is manifest. This one kalpa is made up of 1008 Chaturyugas. We all know what is a Chaturyuga. Okay. So the fourfold yugas are there, called as Chaturyuga. Like that, so 72 Chaturyugas make one Manvantara. 14 Manvantaras make one Kalpa. Okay. This is a cosmic time. Okay, cosmic time. So anyway, so basically one Kalpa means from one Srishti to Samhara. From manifestation to the resolution of this particular world that we know. Okay. So anyway, Kalpadau, at the beginning of the Kalpa, when everything was manifest from the unmanifest, what happened? What happened? Parvati Shaha. Parvati Shaha. Parvati Shaha is Parameshwara. In Shaiva Sampradaya, Agama, the Ishvara is, so Parameshwara, Lord Shiva, as Parameshwara is Ishvara. In Vaishnava Sampradaya, so the cause of everything, Ishvara is Narayana. In Shakta tradition also is Devi. Devi says, I am the Karanam of the whole Srishti. She is. She is. And even because of me, so Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra are manifest because of me. Because of their Shakti, there is no manifestation. There's no manifestation. Manifestation, even though Shakti is non-separate from Purusha, Prakriti. But she is the catalyst, the activating factor, the Shakti aspect of the Lord, of Parameshwara. So she can also claim who is the one who initiated the whole thing. In Devi Suktam, she says, I am the one. Aham Rudre Bir. Something it says. Ishubis Charami, something like that. It starts. I am the one because of whom all this Triputi gets manifest. So it's all the same. The message is the same, really speaking. They are all not different from each other. So he says here, Parameshwara, Lord Shiva, as Jagat Karanam, Pravara Suragana Prarthitaha. The one who is worshipped, Parameshwara is worshipped. As a result, why does manifestation take place? Because of Purva karmas are there. And those Purva karmas involve. So when they manifest, the karmas have to manifest, then the Lord manifests the world. Parameshwara makes the manifestation happen, the Srishti happen. So the one who is worshipped by Pravaras, Suras are gods. Pravaras are exalted, other exalted beings, sages and so on. Pravara also refers to ancestors. So they all worship, and the result of that karma phalam, the world gets manifest. So he says, he was Netu Kamaha, Shrautas Vartma Prabalyam Netu Kamaha. The one who desired what? He desired that upholding the Vaidika Dharma. Shrauta Vartma is Vaidika Dharma Marga, is the order, is the order of the Lord. There is an infinite order here. That is the nature of the manifest world, creation. And this order also comes, why is there an order? So that any functioning requires order, some order. Rules have to be there, laws have to be there. If there was no law, there will be no science, I tell you. Science has nothing to do with contradicting anything. Religion has nothing to do with contradicting science. Okay. Here it talks of order, from whom it came. But to have science, you need order. You need laws. So, and there's not just having laws is not good enough. They have to be implemented. You know, they have to be implemented. So for which you have other laws. Bhagavan doesn't sit there with a stick. There are other laws of karma and so on. So anyway, his desire that was also there. And so he, prabalyam, the predominance, to maintain the predominance of the order. Order means disorder is possible. Okay. So order and disorder, both. Who created the disorder? We don't have to create another God for that, or somebody opposite of God. Order is there, then disorder is also is the other side of the coin. But order has to prevail. So in order, for the order to prevail, he says, he manifests. This was Bhagavan's Ichha. He manifests how? Yativara Purusha Agatya. Yativara Purusha Agatya. Agatya means he manifests in the form of Yativara. Yativara here is, so, locally manifest as referring to Adi Shankaracharya. He refers to Adi. Because the one who wrote this Ashtakam belongs to that tradition. So he honors the one Adi Shankara, who was the founder of that whole tradition, the Matams and so on. So he is looked upon as an avatara of Lord Shiva. Okay. So he says, Yati. Yati is the one who is an ascetic, the one who performs penances and so on. So he says he manifests as him. Shringa Shaile. And then in Shringeri, Yam Samsthapya. He installed. This is talking about the origin of this temple. So Sri Shankaracharya installed this temple of Sharada Ambal. Incidentally, there was a temple of Saraswati, Vagdevi as Sharada in Kashmir, Kashmir Shaivism. So now it's in in a place which is now in Pakistan. or Pakistan occupied Kashmir area. So he had visited that place, and there there was a temple, very difficult to access, apparently. And so anyway, so like that, there were other temples too, but then here he established a temple of Vagdevi in the form of Sharada. Having installed Archam Prachakre, he performed what? Archana, pujas. Archana refers to traditional form of pujas. Traditional based on the agamas. So, different agamas are there. Uh, Traditions by which we perform the prayers and worship. And so he performed himself the prayers. And this worship, prayer to Shardamba has continued for 15 centuries non-stop by all the unbroken line of Acharyas are there. Even now, the first murti installed by Adi Shankaracharya was of sandalwood. And then later on, it was replaced by, other one is also there, but is replaced by another murti of, what is called Panchaloha, 5 metals. There are many of our murtis, our icons of worship are made of this Panchaloha, 5 metals. They stand for the 5 different elements. If I have to represent the infinite Lord in a form, you know, so in a form of, in a metal is allowed as one of the. Can you please mute? Can you please mute Samsung? Whoever is on Samsung, please mute your phone. So I have to have this form called Upasana Murti. I have the form on which I do worship. Okay. And so the different materials can be used traditionally, and metal is also one of them. And these 5-fold metals which represent the 5 elements. So they are gold, silver, iron, copper, and zinc. Okay. Incidentally, I'm telling. So each one represents something. Gold stands for purity, for auspiciousness. Silver is brightness and luminosity. Copper has certain conductive properties and so on. Zinc, iron gives stability to the form. So these are all different elements, and that what we are made of. This particular murti of ours, this body of ours, any form is made up of these elements. These are represented by these 5 metals. And so it's called Panchaloha. It's very, it has a lot of significance besides just the symbolic meanings. But in any way, or then that murti is also still, that is the one that is being there in that temple. So that worship has continued, he says. And not only that, by the archanas, also Bahuvida Nuti Bihi, by various shlokas, by various verses, by various prayers, then this goddess Saraswati has been and is being worshipped. He had written, so he himself had written beautiful verses, Saundarya Lahari, which is considered a masterpiece work on talking about Devi, about Shakti and her various manifestations and so on, which he was inspired to write, to compose when he visited Kashmir. Somebody has a Samsung phone. I don't know, there's no name there, but could you please mute yourself? Because your echo is coming back. Okay. Please mute yourself. Samsung. Okay. Satvam Indvardha Chuda. Satvam. You are that. Oh Devi, you are that goddess who again yourself having Indwardha Chuda. Chuda is the hair, So the one who has on her hair as an ornament, Indwardha Ardhendu. Ardhendu is half moon, the crescent. Who has the crescent moon on her forehead? This is another beautiful, it's an ornament that symbolizes. She has it. Many of the Devis have it. Yeah. Devis have it. The crescent moon, also sun sometimes. Dakshinamurti, Lord Dakshinamurti has it. So it represents time. Ardhendu crescent, it represents a kala, what is called as a kala, digit of a moon in terms of time. Okay. Sun and the moon. So we have the days are measured in terms of, so the sun and the moon, Vara, Somavara, Mangalavara. That Vara is solar, so time based on sun, sunrise to
Right.
sunrise. And then the Tithi also is based on the moon. So sun and moon represent time, Kala. Okay. And so the one who has time as an adornment means the one who has transcended time. Okay. The one who has overcome time, the goddess, the gods and goddesses, many of them are adorned with this. Time is an ornament for them. Time doesn't, not an ornament for us. Time doesn't adorn us. We are subject to time. We are tortured by time. We are afraid of time. No, we fear. The biggest fear is time. So Bhagwan is not like that. Bhagwan transcends time. So you are the one who is adorned by this crescent moon. Say, so goddess Satvam, you are that. Vidyam cha Shuddham. Please give me, grant me knowledge, he says. She is the presiding deity of two types of knowledge, para and apara. So apara vidya is all forms of knowledge that are other than the knowledge of the essential self that connects me to the Lord, to Bhagavan. So that knowledge, Atma Jnanam, Brahmatma Aikya Jnanam, there are all different words used. So the knowledge that helps me discover the oneness between me, the individual, and the Jagat Karanam, Ishvara, that I am non-separate from. That knowledge is called Paravidya. Any other knowledge, which is also essential to live, comes under the category of Aparavidya. So, and then even scriptural knowledge is there. The Vedas, the Vedangas, the Upavedas, the Upangas, etc. All of this comes under this Aparavidya. You are the one who will help me get to get to cross all the obstacles. And so please give me that capacity. Give me the buddhi, shuddham buddhim. Give me that knowledge, he says. Chitta shuddhi. Chittasya shuddhaye karma. So the karma helps me purify my mind in the sense. So dharma here. Karma has many meanings. You've seen. One of them is dharma. So living a life of dharma, understanding what is dharma, adharma, values, and so on, spiritual disciplines. All of these help me purify my mind and make it ready for what? For paravidya. And then you bless me with that also. So thus, please grant me all of this. Okay. That goes on to the next one. Okay. So I think I'll stop with this for today. We have one more session. We'll see the rest of the verses next week. Okay. So with this, I'll stop and then I'll have few minutes of question answers. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay. Okay, hold on.